Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our videos about the kidneys. In this video, we are going to be talking about filtration and glomerular filtration rate. Okay, so I just introduced you to the four main processes that happen in the nephron, and now we're going to go over them one at a time, starting with filtration. This figure is like sort of a schematic that shows you what happens to fluid as it moves through the glomerulus and the tubule. So to orient you to this figure, what you're looking at here is this is your afferent arteriole bringing blood into the glomerulus. This is your glomerulus right here. And then that blood supply goes out through the efferent arteriole, okay, and to the peritubular capillaries. Here's our tubule right here. This is Bowman's capsule. And then this is the rest of the tubule, okay? So, so we have a certain amount of blood coming into the glomerulus here. Of that blood, just 20% of it actually filters out of the glomerulus into the tubule, while the remaining 80% just move along in the bloodstream, okay? Of that 20%, almost all of it gets reabsorbed into the peritubular capillaries. So more than 19% of this original 100% is getting reabsorbed into the peritubular capillaries, which means that overall, over 99% of the plasma that enters the kidney ends up back in the circulation, okay? So we have a very small amount that actually gets excreted to the external environment as urine, okay? So that's kind of the main point of this diagram, is to show you that almost all of the fluid that comes into the kidneys actually gets reabsorbed. You might be wondering, why filter all of this fluid into the tubule and then reabsorb almost all of it back into our bodies? It seems kind of pointless, or yeah. But it's actually a good way to get rid of a lot of toxins and waste products and so on, because it just allows you, basically, you're just dumping everything into the tubule, and then you're going to selectively take back the items that you want to keep in your body. So it's just kind of an efficient way to get rid of whatever you want to get rid of. Okay, so let's take a closer look at what happens here with filtration. Filtration happens at a structure called the renal corpuscle. The renal corpuscle is basically just, it's the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, okay? We have, I guess I didn't introduce these, but I sort of mentioned them in the last slide, but we have an arteriole called the afferent arteriole that is going to carry blood into the glomerulus. Remember, the glomerulus is a capillary bed, okay? So blood's going to move through the afferent arteriole into the glomerulus, and then any blood that doesn't filter out of these capillaries into Bowman's capsule is going to continue on and leave through the efferent arteriole, okay? Looking at the features of this interface between the capillaries of the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, we can see some special features, okay? So we have these cells called mesangial cells that kind of wrap around the capillaries of the glomerulus, and they contract or relax to regulate the blood flow going through those capillaries, okay? We also have in purple here these cells called podocytes, and the podocytes are actually part of the epithelium of Bowman's capsule. Okay, so so yeah, and they have these foot processes. They have these processes that come out and form, kind of wrap around the glomerular capillaries as well, and they form a filtration barrier for the materials moving from the capillary into Bowman's capsule. Okay, so we'll get a closer look at that in this slide here. Okay, so looking closer at this filtration barrier, right? So we're looking at that interface between the glomerular capillary and Bowman's capsule. Um, we want to think about what's happening here, right? We're getting filtration. We want to move solutes from the bloodstream here, not just solutes, but also water, right? From the bloodstream right here into Bowman's capsule out here. At the same time, we want to minimize protein loss, okay? We don't want proteins to move into Bowman's capsule because we don't want to lose those proteins to the external environment. We don't want to excrete them as urine, okay? So we want to keep those in our bodies. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to let water and solutes move through from from the glomerulus into Bowman's capsule without letting proteins through, okay? So as materials move from the glomerulus into Bowman's capsule, we encounter three main filtration barriers, okay? First is the pores of the capillaries, okay? So the capillaries in the glomerulus have these pores in them. So this is these are the endothelial cells in this darker kind of red color. And then these are the spaces between those endothelial cells. So these are the pores. And that's where our water and solutes are going to move through. Okay, so that's our first barrier. Second barrier is going to be this layer right here. That's in this kind of grayish bluish color. That's the basal lamina. And the basal lamina is basically like extracellular matrix. Okay, so, and it's like kind of tightly weaved enough that it's going to hold back proteins. Okay. And then our final our final filtration barrier is going to be the foot processes of those podocytes that we saw in the previous slide, right? So these purple colored cells here that are the epithelial cells of Bowman's capsule. They're going to form these filtration slits, right? So they form these podocytes that kind of wrap around the capillary. But between the podocytes are these little slits, okay? And that's where our filtered material is going to move through, okay? And the filtration slits are skinny enough that proteins can't go through, but other solutes and water can go through, okay? Finally, for this little section, this is an actual picture of the renal corpuscle filtration barrier, right? So a scanning electron micrograph. What you can see here is those podocyte foot processes, right? And then kind of buried in there, sorry, you can't really see the surface of it, but you can kind of make out the outline of it. There is the capillary of the glomerulus right there. Okay, and then here is your little cartoon for comparison.